Thurgle will go into detail for Lady Indrik the entire encounter from his perspective, from the moment he woke up inside of Flesh Cavern, and then just everything that they've experienced from what he saw and experienced in that aspect, all the way down to essentially arriving in the castle with everybody just partially dead, exhausted.
Truly delightful. Well, after all the psychological trauma that everyone ended up dealing with, the entire cavern began to collapse upon itself. As the meat walls were basically gone and everything was dissipating and everything began to suck in to the world in itself, taking the entire capital with it.
Ramifications aside, technically they asked us to do it, so they have themselves to blame. Not to mention such an effect on any survivors that may have made it out of the city in the first place. Precisely. Also, I would recommend putting your guards on a little bit more higher of alert for any refugees that may or may not be human or inside out. As they will. To say the least.
Could be worse, we could have failed. I mean, the creations he created of all of us were traumatizing enough. but I think you needed us to finish them.
I am dealing with what I can. Out of the entire experience, I would say the most disturbing was a vision that was provided to me by this eyeball fuck. As we were getting closer to his lair, these eyes were portraying the story of our grand forge ships that we have for our chain. And there was a forge ship particularly that was not flying our colors. It was not flying anything. And it was firing on a fishing village. So I am getting concerned for my homeland at this point, because if Uther was proof that this may be a reality, this could be very damaging to my country, my islands. And I understand that there is very important matters to the House of Indrik, as Valerica did share with me. And I am just very concerned and distracted, and not sure what to do. I don't know if it was a form of manipulation or some form of subterfuge that it was attempting to do, but it was not. It was real. It just did not feel natural, but it was real.
I mean, you're lucky in the sense that you got to see the potential of the living. I only saw visions of the dead. And the ghosts of those I've helped. Sorry, it broke up.
I appreciate it. And
As you wish. It's fine.
I bid my leave. Thank you. We will be in the mansion. Please feel free to knock on the door if you will. And I'm going to go ahead and walk off to the mansion and go take my rest. as I pass them, I look at them square in the eye, and I'm the least of your worries right now. Understandable. Make sure that one stays safe, as I'm pointing at Valerica before I go into the mansion.
Swearing in. I more than understand the idea and the concept of ceremony. My mother was a cleric. I understood a lot of that. She had her own ways, but I understand the need for secrecy as well. I mean, within a state and political ideology, about setting all that aside, I understand that there are secrets that families have to keep. So I do understand that. I have plenty of my own, but if it gives you peace of mind, I'm more than willing to take this oath and the ritual. I just ask that if it involves blood of any sort or something like that, just a heads up, given the walls that we just dealt with. Alright. Hmm. Hmm. I would be fine with that. To be perfectly honest, most of the head games that were played on me, I didn't get as much action or trauma as the rest of the group. Valerica, Liv, my goodness, but they got the worst of it, along with Thurgle. I was not of sound mind, so I couldn't really participate the way I should have been able to. First time in a long time. Oh. As far as, like, visions are concerned, it wasn't so much as that for me, so I don't have impending doom. Alright, I'm more than willing. What do you need of me? There's no audio on the stream. Only music. That's what I got the phone call of. Yeah, I'm trying to hear. Yeah. That bear commented saying that. I can hear air. here.
Yeah.
All right, how's that? There we go. Now my mic is working. Perfect. Seems like audio is now coming through. I've got my dock now figuring it out, and it's now registering as coming through. So hopefully that picks us up. Apologies for that, everybody. Okay, so thank you, chat and viewers, for letting us know that we're having those issues. We're working on our technical difficulties. Appreciate it. We will figure this out. Okay. All right. So, getting back into it. Let's go ahead and give this music a shot again. See if that'll work. All right. I'm going to bump that up.
FYI, Salima, you were coming in fine on the stream.
It was just me. It was the
Yeah, okay, cool.
perfect. Yeah, it was just me. Apparently my microphone disconnected for some reason. So should be all back to normal. It seems to be registering perfectly fine. So, for those of you who missed out on some of the descriptions, Selima, as you were led through the very finely crafted but somewhat austere estate of the Indrik household, it does bear some resemblance to the small parts of the estate that you saw in Korensburg. You can clearly see kind of similar designs and philosophy surrounding it. But eventually you are led into a side room. Looks like it could, be a study, it could be a reading room. It just seems to be, kind of a small space. As the Baroness walks in, you see she kind of waves a hand, and a few pieces of furniture move around. And she moves to a bookshelf where she pulls out this lovely, simple box that she places down on one of the tables, opens it, and you can see this long kind of almost stiletto dagger-like implement, kind of a very long, thin point. It doesn't look like it'd be practical in any sense or capacity for combat, but it bears resemblance to some ritual implements that you've seen before. You can, looking over, you can see some of the empty vials. See, she starts to kind of prepare a few things here and there, and then she draws this circle in chalk on the ground, and she motions for you to step forward.
Okay, I'm going to step up in the circle.
All right. So, standing within the circle, you don't feel anything immediately. It's kind of quiet. And he picks up this kind of long needle dagger and one of the vials is so Selima. Have you a family name?
Not anymore.
Understood. I will be doing most of the talking, don't worry. This will be simple yes or no's. So, do you, Selima, of no name. Swear to uphold the ideals of the House of Indrik, of integrity, of honor, of honesty, of loyalty, and of determination.
I do.
And do you swear that all secrets, all trifling bits of information that may be sensitive or otherwise best left unheard by rival ears, that you will keep these to yourself and share them with none other than those within this household? Do you make this oath with the full knowledge that to break it is to forfeit your very life?
I understand.
And also with the understanding that we are not entirely without mercy, and will hear of any cause, should you feel it necessary, to break this oath.
I understand it.
Do you consent to give, for the purposes of this ritual, a few drops of your blood for safekeeping, so that we may both protect you and ourselves, should the need arise?
I do.
Then please hold out your hand.
Gonna pull back her cloak.
Okay. She, with a kind of flick of one of her hands, you see the vial begin to float as she grabs your hand with one of hers, the very large, oversized needle in the other. She pricks one of your fingers and squeezes out 1, 2, 3, 4 drops into the very small vial. And then it corks, just kind of remains floating, and then one more as it drops from your finger onto the floor. It impacts the sigil drawn, and you can see it light and glow from beneath you. She releases your hand. And so by this ritual, you are sworn as an ally of House Indrik, with all of the benefits and protections and the responsibilities thereof. So, not what much one for rituals, but sometimes they have their uses. She grabs the vial out of the air and just kind of disappears it. I will ensure
I've seen a stranger.
Oh, I'm sure you have. But tell me honestly, because I feel as though you could be truthful with me. Is the dagger too much?
For ceremony, no.
Ah, good. Well, you never know. She goes and she kind of flicks it off and does another way that you recognize she's performing a series of, very simple kind of cantrips to kind of clean it off, and then places it back. Well, now that that's done, she reaches into a small satchel at her side, and she hands to you what looks like a brooch in the symbol of what you've now come to know as the symbol of the House of Indrik. Kind of this burnished, almost bronzy looking material. This should gain you access to several things, although do be aware that anyone who knows these symbols will know of your station. So you are considered a representative of the house, so try to do your best to represent as well. Don't abuse the power, yada yada yada. If you do, we have your blood, we know where to find you, and I'm sure I won't have to do much. Valerica will probably take care of the problem if need be. But enjoy what comes with it. You've been a good ally and a good friend to my daughter, and I appreciate that.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And so has every party member that's aided Valerica under the House Indrik, have they all done this ceremony?
Everyone that has deigned to stick around. There was one that she ran with that disappeared very quickly after, and we never got around to it, but wasn't too much of a fan of that one either, so.
Curious. Because there were some very interesting individuals prior to when I met the group, so
Oh,
I was
very
just
true.
curious if all of them had done the same ritual as well.
All but one, and that one had not been privy to anything private, so. But thank you for being a good friend and a protector. I appreciate it, truly.
That's my pleasure. That's what I do. I protect.
I'm sure you're doing the memory of your family proud. Go get some rest. There's food in the morning, always. Don't be alarmed if you're going to spend time outside of the mansion. I know that all of you are quite partial to being inside it. I completely understand. But if you so wish, you have a room here. I do know that you tend to prefer the outdoors as well. We have taken the time to set a small space for you outside, if you would prefer that.
I would, thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course. Do be aware that there are guards who will be close. You did just come from a very dangerous situation. Can't be too careful. Who knows what came back, followed. But then don't be alarmed if there are people moving around at odd hours of the night either. We tend to run an open house that doesn't seem to ever shut down. You know, adventurers, they come in at the strangest times.
I was going to say, do you expect high traffic for the last evening or so, other than an entire capital going under?
No, I don't expect anything more than the norm, but I'm sure Valerica will regale you with plenty of stories of coming in at the early hours of the morning, because that's just when you showed up. Thank goodness that we're not in the capital right now. That would be quite a hassle. Everything shuts down too early there. But you need some rest, and I shall see you in the morning.
All right. Thank you, Baroness.
Thank you, Lady Salima. Rest well. See you on the
Thank
morrow.
you. Same to you.
As you walk out, there's a guard ready and waiting, and she kind of inclines her head and says to him, the outside area. Yes, my lady. And she departs to another section. As the guard looks at you and says, this way. He sees the sigil. Honored guest, come.
Lead the way. I have no idea.
He eventually leads you, through the halls, through the kind of a very large door. You pass through kind of a main dining hall area where you could easily sit several dozen people, should there be like a banquet or something going on. But you're let out, and then eventually to a small kind of section that's been set up. You can see that they weren't entirely sure what you liked as far as staying outside, but they set up like a little lean-to and a tent. Some rudimentary shelter, but it's very nice stuff. It's really comfortable, high quality. Like, they pulled out their.
For sure. She's glamping.
Oh yeah, you're glamping. This is like we're talking like 4,000 or 5,000 thread, like butter sheets. Yeah, outrageously like beyond the realm of reason. But looking around, it's dark out, and you can see that you are in a kind of a walled off, kind of almost compound like estate. You can see that there are guards in various places. There are servants milling about. Even at this late hour, there's still activity happening. She really seems like she's not kidding when she says that they never really shut down. You can see there's even like a small contingent of guards that are like running drills. Kind of all going on like a bit of a jog in their armor. Nice, relatively quiet, even though there's still some activity. It's not like an incredibly loud thing. Like there's no people yelling at them. But it seems to be, you know, sequestered off enough space. You can see the walls, people patrolling along them, kind of keeping an eye out. You can kind of see the mountains off in the distance, off to the west. It's nice, clear, cold night. Cold night. But you have an ample supply of blankets inside your little camp. A fire has been set for you. So it's all there and ready and prepared. They're clearly accustomed to dealing with this kind of thing. If not this exactly, at least they have the supplies for it. You know, they're a rough and tumble family for being nobles. So. All right. So, do you retire? What are you gonna do?
So Selima's going to head over to the tent to kind of check it out and sit there and go, it's fancy compared to my mossy rock, but I do so love my mossy rock.
The guard looks at you. Did you require moss? We can certainly go and try and find some.
Selima lifts up her jacket and says, I've got my own.
Oh,
I don't think it's damp enough, though, for them to be the way they need to be. But
we can bring over a mage, and I'm sure we can arrange something, if you so require.
Maybe in the morning. As of right now, I think I'm just going to make a small cup of tea and then retire.
Very well. If you require anything, do let one of the guards know, and we will do our best to assist.
Thank you.
Gives a militaristic kind of an inclination of the head and turns and disappears. Kind of, yeah, sharp nod. But it doesn't take you long to make your tea.
I'm going to call out Adair.
Okay.
And I'm going to say, you come here. I'm checking you for eyes and everything else. I have no idea what that universe has done to everything, but I'm going to check you for extra eyes.
Okay. Go ahead and make an investigation check.
That's a nat 20.
Okay.
So that's a total of a 26.
26. Okay. You spend a fair amount of time. You know, probably the next 20, 30 minutes really digging, like getting into it. Like there's not complaining either. May have the body of a bird, but definitely the demeanor of any kind of house pet. You know, enjoys the attention and the preening and the grooming like behavior. No eyes whatsoever, other than the two that you would expect.
Fantastic.
But yeah, after about 15, 20 minutes, half an hour of this, you're confident that that there's nothing amiss on Adair.
So I'm gonna turn to him. I finished my tea. Do you want to sleep in or go where you go to in mystical fantasy land? I don't know where you go.
Kind of looks at you, like, inclines his head.
All right, in the tent. Let's go.
Kind of hops in. And finds a nice little plush space to sit and hang out.
And Selima is going to hunker down for the night.
Okay, sounds good. Thurgle, I assume you're just crashing? Or do you have anything in mind that you want?
Essentially, after I enter the mansion, I'm going to go check on the progress of the tower for Valerica.
Okay.
I'm going to check on Liv.
Okay.
And I'm going to go to my room and possibly meditate for at least an hour just to see if anything will come to me, any peace of mind, or just see what happens after all of this entire situation. Just wanting to sort of analyze and just feel what may happen.
Okay, sounds good. Going in, progress on the tower is consistent. You've got some of the automatons are moving supplies around, and you know, they're doing their best. They're not trained experts, but they're doing their best. Might need to have a bit of an...
If I can, I'll offer some advice to make things work more efficiently.
Okay. Yeah, you can spend some time trying to kind of guide them a little bit. But yeah, so it's the work is steady and consistent. I mean, it hasn't been very long, but yeah, the foundations are being laid and the supplies are being gathered from what you've given them. So, okay. Going and checking in on Liv, she is dead asleep. Just...
I check her pulse just to be sure.
Okay, make a medicine check. Just for funsies, if you panic.
That would be a 10.
10? Okay. Yeah, you're somewhat familiar with human bodies, and they're not too dissimilar from dwarves. It takes you a few moments, but you do find a pretty steady, slow pulse. Like the pulse of somebody who's sleeping, and you can hear her breathing, and she's fine, just dead tired. It's middle of the night, so.
If there's any blankets askew, I'll readjust and then head out my way.
Okay, sounds good. Heading back to your quarters in the mansion and settling in to meditate. You go through your usual steps, your recollections, your little repetitions to get yourself centered. You do find that calm, tranquil place. Being out on a calm sea, the slow kind of rocking motion of being on a large ship, the salty air gently breezing across you. You find some peace and serenity there for a time, but you do find that your mind occasionally is drawn back to the images that you saw of that great wonder of your people, one of the great forged ships, apparently turning on its own. What happened with Uther lends credence to its reality, but there's still a wonder if it is happening, if it has happened, if it will happen, or if it was just some trick that the Lord of Eyes was playing on you. You don't glean any new information as you sit, but you parse through the day's events and try to find, if not peace, at the very least, tranquility with them for the time being until you can do something.
With that conclusion, I'll complete my breath and climb into my hammock for the rest.
Okay. So you all retire for the night, and thankfully find a restful night's sleep. No dreams haunt you beyond what you would expect. No voices whisper in your mind. You do, of course, experience, the recollections of the day as you attempt to kind of process through them and the horrifying things that you saw. But otherwise, no disturbances. You all awake, sore but rested. Some of you more sore than others. But eventually the sun crests over the horizon. There's Selima, you can see immediately there's like a thick frost over a lot of things. It's chilly. It's very warm in your tent, but your fire has long since died. There's still people outside. Not the same group running drills, but another group in a very similar fashion. But all of you, one by one, do come to... And you may begin your day.
Alright. I am going to call Adair to hop on my shoulder, and I'm going to head back towards the house for warm breakfast other than jerky.
Warm breakfast other than jerky. Understood.
And I'm going to make my way to the kitchen to eat as well.
Okay. Sounds good.
Just take the mansion with me.
All right. So, yeah, you find yourself. You have your kind of bed chambers all set up the way that you recall it during the off season. Scarcely touched, cleaned. As you awake, one of your maidservants is just ready to go.
Hi.
Good morning. She holds up her robe.
Thank you.
It has been, Lady Indrik.
So,
Breakfast is prepared.
wonderful. What's on the menu today?
Well, we have some lovely boar that just came in. We have an assortment of various grain porridges. We, of course, have a variety of eggs, of grilled vegetables, of morning ale. But if you would like anything specific, of course, the chef is more than happy to take care of that for you. Is there anything that I can get you?
That sounds wonderful. I will take a coffee.
We'll take
But
coffee.
other than that sounds great.
My lady, will you be dining in your room, or will you be going down to the dining area?
The dining area.
Very well.
Do you know if my mother is in, or my brothers, or father?
We've not seen your father for quite some time. Your brothers, I believe, are out on one of their many adventures, as you just were as well. Your mother, she is in, although I have not seen her. I can check to see if she is awake yet. I know that she was up quite late last night, from what the other servants were mentioning. Would you like me to go and find her?
Yes. Yes.
Very well, my lady.
And tell her I'm awake and downstairs if she wishes to compare notes.
By your leave.
I'm gonna grab the maze cube and head out.
Okay. So you find your dining area as comfortable and familiar as ever. The warmth of your home, safe and secure away from the city, is quite lovely. You can feel the crispness of the air, although it is warm inside the building. And you do see Selima bright and early, waiting at a table.
Good morning.
Morning!
Well,
I did. Your mother was right, this place never sleeps.
no, we don't sleep in this house. Or we sleep in shifts. There is no traditional timeline in this house. It's never been that way in my life.
I can understand it, with all the adventuring and everything and duties, I get it.
So, welcome to my childhood home.
It's nice. I do appreciate the tent outside, too.
Oh, is that where you ended up?
Yes.
Well, hopefully it was to your liking.
It was. It was quite nice.
Forage and stuff. So we toppled the government.
We did. And I don't feel like we really achieved anything on that one, but who knows? We stopped a false god, though. Or at least postponed him.
Did we? Did you get
At
the
least
impression
enough.
it was over?
Not necessarily over, but I don't think it was more of a see you later. It was more of a I have to figure something else out now.
Right.
I mean, we're not the only group of adventurers out here that could be conned into his position.
Glad it was us.
Hmm.
We also did not get paid.
I'm used to that.
I'm not.
I don't always get paid.
I usually make a point of it. In fact, I think this is the first contract I've ever walked away from without insisting upon getting paid.
I do
It's not-
apologize for yelling on you. Just to get out. But there was an
No.
entire city going down.
It was probably worth it. It was probably worth it. There is a part of me that's curious about what's actually happening there, though. There's a couple scryers in this town, or within a few days' travel, that we can possibly slip some coin. I do have the man's signature on the contract still. See if he's even alive.
We did complete the job.
We
Just
did.
not how he said it.
Fair.
Ugh. Well, either way. At least we're all alright.
Yeah.
Any crippling nightmares for you?
No. Thankfully. Just kind of passed out. Yeah, I don't have... Slept pretty solidly. But I just... There's a lot of questions. I don't know if we resolved anything. I don't know that we bettered the situation, and I have no idea how many innocents we just killed. Or if it would have been better left alone.
I don't think it would have been better left alone. It was already conjuring up doppelgangers. Had we not taken care of it, who's to say it wouldn't have sent our doppelgangers out? Playing as us. I still may be able to do it now, but I think it would be far more difficult without seeing us constantly. And I don't feel that nagging pull.
Nor do I.
So whatever it was is not holding on the way it was.
Mm-hmm. Definitely a difference. A discernible difference.
We, Thurgle and I filled your mother in on what happened, so...
How does she take it?
Calm. But she seems to
Ever
have a
the
habit of that.
Yes. True and practiced diplomat.
Although she did take a moment to seriously contemplate the situation we were in. So, we'll see. Mother's protection, maybe.
Also just a planner. Because there are many ramifications for what just happened. Like destabilizing another noble house by cutting off their primary trade partner.
Your mother mentioned something about that. I don't follow that too closely, but it sounds like textiles of some sort.
There's a noble family that has... So every noble house in Albanor has their primary export, right? Ours is mercenaries, or adventurers, depending on who you ask. There's another house that is primarily textiles, fabrics, silks, fine clothing, and the like, and they've been able to amass their wealth from that. And Gerravia was one of their primary trade partners. So there's going to be absolutely financial ramifications for that, inarguable. But as a leaf falls on the water and causes ripples, no action is without consequent actions. And they blackmailed us. This was not our choice.
Every history book in every different region writes the same story in a different way.
Sometimes written by the victor, sometimes written by the survivor.
And sometimes written by a con man, so who knows?
I doubt they'll be singing our praises in Gerravia.
Probably not, but...
I don't think they sing there, though. Oh, man. We still have the kid.
Yes!
She's
I didn't get a
kinda
chance
like,
to...
looks around. Is she around us?
I didn't see her.
You guys haven't seen
I didn't
anything?
see her last night.
Yeah,
And I went with your mother for a while, so... I don't... I
It's a
didn't
rather
catch it.
large estate.
Hmm.
Probably around here somewhere.
Is there a
Is there
servant nearby we can ask?
There's a few. Yeah, they've been kind of bringing food and drink as you have been dining.
Jeffers.
Yes,
My
lady.
Is the girl here? The child that we brought?
Ah, young Miss Hannah.
Hannah. Yes.
I'm afraid she's not in the estate at the moment. She's in Warbury.
And what of her fate? Do you know anything of it?
To my knowledge, she has been sent to apprentice with one of the mages in Warbury.
Oh, well then. Good for her. Thank you for the update.
Absolutely, my lady. Is there anything else I can do for you?
Jeffers, you are a gem, and I appreciate you tremendously. Go enjoy yourself. Have a cup of tea.
Thank you, my lady.
Good news.
I would definitely say at this point Thurgle is probably coming out of the mansion.
For sure.
And that would be it. I put the mansion box like on the seat next to me.
Yeah, you get that little like
bzz,
bzz, bzz, bzz,
the whole vibrate. Bzz.
and then Thurgle pops into existence. A wide array of food. You can see ham, you can see curds, you can see a variety of eggs, chickens, ducks, quails. You can see berries, which is weird because it's winter. There's even like a rice dish. Looks like a rice pudding, maybe. It smells of apples. You can see like fish, kippers, all kinds of things. Like all
It's like risotto with a little bit of cinnamon. It's pretty good. And thick and creamy.
Well, alright, this is not what I was expecting, but fish it is. And Thurgle's gonna dish up every single style of fish that was prepared.
Okay. Most of these fish are preserved in some way, just salted or pickled or other things. Some of them are great, some of them are not. There's definitely one that bubbles as you look at it.
Don't eat that one.
What do you say this one is?
It's a fish that's preserved in like a chalky white substance.
You
I
would
believe it's
know
not-
what. Yeah, you would know what lye is. Thurgle.
It's not. It's preserved in it, and like it's a delicacy for some people.
Is this tilapia?
The fish, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, don't worry, I won't touch that one.
The preservation method isn't the problem. The source fish is.
The combination thereof, not a big fan.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So while I have you both, there's something I wish to discuss.
Please.
In the research that I've done about the potentials of what we can do with this, and Valerica holds up the puzzle box. I mentioned this before, but I'd like to discuss the merits of it. We have the option to bind this to the material plane, in which case we are no longer restricted by the number of animals and creatures that are bound to it, and essentially it just this object functions as a teleportation circle. So we can instantly teleport back to it. Now we can bind it anywhere we wish in the material plane, which means means if we choose to do it strategically, we can hop around the globe very quickly. And with the amount of money that I've been able to save up, we can probably buy a town. If we wanted to do something like start a blacksmithery or an actual shrine and dedicated service to Hephaestus, or if Selima, I don't know anything of your material interests, I'll be honest with you. You don't seem to speak or focus on that much. But I have goals and ambitions, specifically in the arcane field, and I would like to control people to do research for me without having to pay inordinate sums to a mage's college. Does this sound tempting to you?
I'll miss the luxury of having it very private.
Fair. We can always go back, which would
Can
be
you?
funny because then we would just have a town built, and then I would pretty much flip the switch, and everyone would be ejected from the town, and we would pull it from the material plane, and then we would just have a ghost town, which also sounds kind of interesting. We would just evict like a couple hundred people in a second.
It will just be dumped in the middle of nowhere, like where we had it stationed.
Probably.
Sounds awful for them.
It sounds entertaining as fuck.
It kind of does. Sounds really interesting.
Financially, it sounds like a very, very good idea. Especially with the shrine to Hephaestus, being able to at least start apprenticing some really substantial blacksmiths, help them.
You started making progress with that in Korensberg. But with the adventuring lifestyle, we're not sedentary enough for you to grow a business. Or
Not a business, but I could have at least one main apprentice that could assist the others.
Right. And then you can check in on them every night. When we are done with the day, we just go back there. And then we go straight back to where we left the cube. And Liv, whenever she wakes up, could have a continuous audience to play to.
Oh, she would love that.
I thought she might. I've been wondering how she's been holding up having no audience to perform to for 3 or 4 months now.
Yeah, she's did not do very well not having the right audience. We had people to interact with on the plane we were at, but they were not so appreciative of her performances.
That's a shame. She's very gifted.
Yeah, pretty significant cultural differences from the material plane to the plane of water.
Exactly.
So, give it some thought, come back with some ideas, and it might be worth consulting with my mother to see if it makes more sense to put that land closer to here, because we have a very well-established city, or somewhere else that could give us an advantage. It's a moving home, no matter how we treat it.
And regardless of where we place it, it's always an anchor to somewhere familiar.
Exactly.
Definitely under consideration. We'll have to discuss all the options, but I may be more in favor of it than I was before.
It's worth mentioning to your mother, too, to see what her thoughts are and where it should be put in that sense.
I would like, if the goal is to grow an infrastructure, we need to position ourselves tactically in close distance to an area of high commerce, right? There needs to be foot traffic, there needs to be enough money moving in and out in order to make this a sustainable thing.
Like by a port?
Yes, exactly what I was thinking.
Yes, we will definitely discuss these options. Valerica, I want to mention to you something.
Yes.
So, with the hell we went through the other day.
Oh, that?
Yes.
That casual thing that definitely didn't happen?
Essentially, yes.
Yes.
When we were provided our visions,
Right.
there's something your mother is currently checking in for me because I am very disturbed by this, very distracted. It is essentially one of my homeland's forge ships has been taken over and is firing on innocent villages around the coasts. The ship was not flying any colors of any specific band of anyone, but they were using their barrages to shoot at innocent fishing villages.
That sounds very problematic.
Yes, it infuriates me, and I want to sink that fucking ship and keep everyone on it under the hull itself. But I would hate to destroy such a beautiful piece of work, so I am currently torn until I get word from your mother that will either confirm or deny this, but essentially with what happened with Uther and Thea last night, it's hard to deny the fact that it could be an eventuality.
Have you tried speaking to your god about it?
I went into meditation last night. He didn't really provide me anything, just went through the thoughts. But
There's a spell that my father used to cast called Commune, where you can have a direct line of questioning. If I'm understanding, I don't know it that well, but if I'm understanding it, would that be something that you can ask?
That one I have heard of, but I have not learned it very well. So Hephaestus doesn't necessarily directly communicate with me, but provides me signs when I need it.
Right. I have an idea. There are several schools of magic, from augury to divination to scrying, that would be able to help us get very precise information. Now, one of the things that I want to scry on is specifically the man that signed this contract. Because I want to know if there's any chance we're getting paid.
That would be appreciated. 25,000 gold is fairly significant.
Right, and even though Thea and Uther had to make a rather hasty exit, in the print of this contract, I did specify that I would be collecting money on behalf of us all.
Well, essentially, we'll just put it in their rooms. They'll be fine.
Right.
Oh, we didn't get paid.
Oh, no.
We'll just buy Uther pants so that hopefully he would wear them around the mansion.
Make him a chastity belt and make that lock specific.
That would be hilarious.
Can you put this symbol of a mouse on it? He seemed to always have just a massive problem with mice.
Irony. Huge problem with mice.
Oh man, I never got him hail back.
You never got what?
Hail.
You know how you have your bird, and she has her bird. He had one too, but his took the form of like a small
Harpy.
human. Yes. So
Oh, that's right.
she died,
Damn.
and I was going. We didn't have any time.
Well, that is unfortunate.
We understand and respect the need to take care of one's own tribe culture. I'm very protective of the denizens of Shadowfen. But on the other hand, when you walk away, you walk away. There's nothing to be done about that.
That is very true.
Shame.
It didn't look like there was time, even when we arrived here, that he was able to take the time to get her back anyway.
No. Unfortunately, that's not a quick process. So, much to consider, much to do. I need to get some information about whatever looming threat is coming in the form of a dragon. There's a bit of shopping that I'd like to do. What's on your guys' agenda?
Well, at this point, I think I may take the opportunity, if we have some time, to see if I may be able to conjure up this commune and see if I can actually speak to Hephaestus and get some guidance from him.
By all means.
So I will.
Do you have any supplies? Any timber, stone, anything along those lines for construction additions you would like to make to the mansion?
If anything, definitely need the more timber just in case, because I know I don't want to deplete our forest in there.
You want it delivered here?
Yes, delivered straight here if possible.
I'm going to summon a servant over.
Yes, Lady Indrik.
We're in need of some mundane construction materials. Would we be able to place an order with you?
I can certainly pass it along, yes.
That would be very helpful. Thurgle?
Yes. Essentially, we're going to need wood. Any kind doesn't really matter. We will need any types of nails, washers, bolts, nuts, even scrap metal for that fact, because I have no preference. I can make what I want anyways. Just lots of metal and plenty of coal as well.
Servant, starts kind of noting these things, looks over at you, Valerica, like, what?
And stone. For
Yes.
the tower. Construction stone.
Stone and mortar, construction materials.
In any particular quantity?
Lots.
Thurgle sort of like doing the math. How many floors did you want, Valerica?
I'd like to start with 4.
4 plus how deep basement-wise?
Oh, that's a completely different conversation, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I'd like the basement to be 2 stories.
Okay, so enough to make a 6-floor tower, probably radius 30
200?
feet.
Well,
How many feet?
we have
30 feet.
30 feet radius.
Yes.
200-foot radius is massive.
If there's enough room, that's essentially what I'm going for.
Just to give you an idea, a 200... Do you have any concept of how big that is?
200.
Are you trying to build a football stadium?
No.
Well, there we go. So,
All right. So
30-foot radius is quite a lot. But okay. So, well, I will do my best to pass on this information. I would imagine you would want to. You might expect a message from the house architect.
Right.
But
are they in?
I would have to find them. They may be in town. Would you prefer me to pass on the list or find them and bring them to you?
Whichever is easier.
As you wish, Countess. All right, and then they scurry off, very confused. Give incredibly vague, like to a random person, very vague instructions, like get me a bunch of wooden rocks and enough. Get enough of them.
Selima, do you ever want to have any structure to call your own?
I thought at some point of maybe something to do with the trees, maybe a structure within the trees near the rock.
Fey architecture. I think it would be something up your alley. Where they bend the branches of trees to form these little pods.
That'd be interesting. I'm not opposed.
The architect.
Well, you've seen structures like it before in some of the more like wood dwelling kind of rural areas. People who dwell in forests and pretty used to constructing things naturally, and you've seen a couple of people be able to craft such things.
The shape of a teardrop in the scale of a building that is held up by vines and trees, completely intertwined and wrapped around it.
I would be interested. I just don't tend to build any long-standing structures. I haven't had the opportunity to do something like that. Not for quite some time.
Well, opportunities are knocking.
Fair enough.
Definitely more trees.
I'm glad we're buying wood then.
Yeah, if she wants more trees, then we've got to leave our trees alone.
That's fair. I'm sure that the lumber chiefs of this area would be more than happy to barter with us.
Yeah, there's a forest slightly to the north that you know of. It has some lumber works in it, some logging yards.
Is my mother around or arriving yet?
As you guys are talking, she does in fact come down in her fine morning attire. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I see
Morning.
that Liv is asleep as always.
Indeed.
Our grand escape must have taken a toll on her, so she's definitely getting her rest in where she can.
So it would seem. So, did everyone rest well?
As well as you can after such a traumatizing experience, but yes.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, what's our plan for the day? Your plan.
Well,
Well,
what is your advice, considering we just saw the capital of a neighboring country collapse?
my advice.
Would you like us to not talk about this?
I think it might be best, considering that it's very unlikely anyone knows that you were even remotely involved. I mean, other than the person who was blackmailing you, who knows who he told, but if the devastation is quite as bad as you say it is, then who knows if they're even alive.
Right. I do intend on finding someone to scry on them later.
I'm sure we can find a scryer somewhere around here. Always travel to town and find someone there.
We are in need of a few different items. Curious. I'm looking for strange magical components.
Anything in particular?
Yes. Quite rare. I need the heart of a fire-immune fiend, the magical core or gland of an ancient fire-breathing dragon.
She kind of looks and her mouth hangs agape for like a moment. I think you might be a bit hard-pressed to find something like that.
Yeah, it sounds like a do-it-yourself thing.
It does. Yes, unless you're willing to wait for some team of adventurers to go and find it for you, which you could always post a job if you wish.
That's true.
Then there's no guarantee that could happen, but it's always an option if you don't feel like doing it yourself. Although finding something of an ancient dragon is going to be very difficult for anyone to deal with. Goodness gracious, what do you need this for?
Point at the circlet. It's asleep, apparently, and it needs it to wake up.
We may have to have a discussion about that. Very curious.
By all means.
But,
Selima's going to motion towards her bow and say, mine's in the same state.
The core of an air elemental or blood of her favorite enemy.
Fiend. High-powered fiend.
Well, I should be surprised, but I'm not. You may be able to find something like somewhere in town if you're lucky enough, but no, it does kind of.
I don't know if anything surprises you, but I'm just gonna like sleepily put my head on her shoulder.
She kind of reaches and just kind of pats on your head, and strokes your hair kind of gently. Well, very few things, very very few things, but when they do, they tend to be fairly significant.
So speaking of dragons,
Yes, I was wondering when you bring that up. I
how
assume
pressing is pressing?
we're gathering supplies and hope to send some, but we're finding transportation is a bit of a difficult issue.
When do you want us to get involved?
Possibly.
Or are we waiting on my brother's return?
Well, it would be ideal if we heard back from them, though I may just send you to go help them to hurry them along. If they're proving too slow.
Oh, you know, the A-team has to go in and clean up their mess. I understand.
You do have more people than they do.
They took care of an oven at one time, so they should be fine, right?
Yes. Yes. Awakened inanimate objects are about the same as any dragon.
Precisely. They'll be fine. It has hot in it, they breathe hot, so same thing, right?
Same thing indeed. But, no, I think that it would be best if your brothers were there for it, and we are trying to gather the necessary supplies to do what we can. I expect in the next few weeks. Likely it's not. So you do have some time, or you need to rush to our aid, unless you have something else that's that much more pressing, but I figured you'd want to be a part of this. Bit of a momentous occasion.
I do want to be a part of this. I happen to know of any teleportation sigils on Burgos Islands, do you?
I'm sure I could find one. Yes, so I believe that there are a number of locations that would have permanent circles. I'd have to check the records, I don't remember them offhand.
We're seeking information to confirm or deny horrific visions.
Oh, yes, we spoke of it last night. I have sent word, and I am awaiting a response. If there's any veracity to those claims.
If the response is positive or negative, may determine whether or not we need to go over there ourselves.
Understood.
Now, another matter,
Yes.
which I would like your insights and opinion on. The mansion.
Mm.
And I go into the same exact, spiel that I just gave them.
So you're looking to anchor this and form a new town?
Toying with the idea. Now,
You are, of course, welcome to place your manor here.
I do appreciate that.
But
Is there anywhere else that would be more advantageous to have a teleportation circle?
I can think of 12 places, but most of them aren't close by.
That's alright.
Well, where are you thinking? I mean, anywhere outside of our holds are going to be very difficult, because we have to secure, purchase of the land in the area, and we'd have to negotiate with the family that owns it. If you're thinking of...
It kind of gets added.
That's as may be, but it would still technically then fall under the ownership of whatever noble or king or whoever owns the land would technically then have control over it. You'd have to negotiate for the purchase, and then you would take over it. Are you thinking somewhere in Albinor or somewhere else?
I've only ever been in Albinor, so I don't know of anywhere else to think of.
Fair enough. Could always put it down at the hinterlands. I know that the adventurers would love that. Save them weeks of travel, potentially.
Can you tell me a bit about the hinterlands?
Well, well, she looks over at Selima and Thurgle. I suppose you would know they're the southern portions of our land, mostly hills, and almost entirely wilderness. We keep it uncultivated deliberately. We allow bandits and monsters to run rampant in those areas. Controlled, of course. We do have patrols around the borders, but we do have a controlled environment where we will often send adventurers that are up and coming to go and train. We find that it's a useful source of income if we keep the place populated.
Would you have any interest of a port city down there?
It's nowhere near the coast.
Do we have any land that could be near the coast?
We don't, but we could certainly ask to see if we could try purchasing some. It's been on my radar for quite some time.
Because establishing a port city could be of great interest.
Incredibly useful for us, actually, yes. I'd have to speak to the Merman family. Either that or the Torlex. They control parts of the coast as well. So I could begin those negotiations if you'd like. We can see if we can trade a parcel of land. How much space do you need?
I don't know that I have a quantifiable range to give you at this moment. It's more of a thought experiment at this stage.
Fair enough.
In essence, I would say enough coastland to start a small trade village to start.
So a few miles of space.
Yeah, so that way there can be shops, a port, maybe some fishing locations, a blacksmith, somewhere people can sort of stop by, do some commerce trading to start, and then eventually grow it into a small township, and then therefore maybe create a large port eventually.
Understood. I think it's a capital idea, though are you prepared to take on a responsibility of that kind?
Delegated, but yes.
That's my girl.
In essence, Mommy, Daddy, can I get the dog, but you clean up after it?
Quiet.
It would be an expansion of our estate.
It would be an expansion of our lands, yes, you're right.
And I do know, love, and trust all of our wonderful people here who would be more than happy to come live on the beach.
You see a couple of the servants kind of perk up. So you would know that the closest coastline to you, currently either controlled by the Merman household or the Torlex, is maybe a day or two away from the borders of your hold, to the north. So it'd be pretty chilly during the winter months, but probably lovely in the
Chili like Canada chili? Or chili like NorCal chili?
It'd snow in certain parts of it.
So Cali. NorCal.
Not like frozen. Like you're
not like that. Like, oh look, a frozen river.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, you would know that you've got coastline there that would have to be negotiated for purchase. You've got mountains, you've got hills, you've got open plains, you've got a forest, kind of wherever you'd like to put it. But your mother kind of looks at you. We can work out the details, or is that pressing? That's something you need to take care of soon.
No, it's not a need. More of a want.
Fair enough. Well, if you need me to reach out to either of the households, I can see about negotiating. We would need to acquire quite the tract of land.
Yes, I think it's reasonable to start yelling out those negotiations and see if it's even reasonable.
Oh, very well. I will put out requests and some correspondence and see what we can do. I do need to speak to the Torlex anyway, so.
Are you going to tell them?
Oh, they need to know that Gerravia has been destabilized, yes. They do hold the northern portion of the border with Gerravia.
Are you going to tell them how?
No.
Great.
We're just going to tell them that it was destabilized, the capital city has fallen, and to expect some trouble.
Would you be able to summon a scryer? Do you have a scryer that you trust implicitly?
No, we can even find one. Certainly.
Right.
Would you like me to get them now?
If we could send for one, I'm very curious about what the state is of Gerravia at this moment, because I would like to get paid.
Understood. She turns to one of the servants. Get me Willem. Servant inclines and runs off. Yes.
Excuse me. At this point, I do have my pressing matters. I know you have sent requests for that confirmation of information, but I am going to take leave to my room to see if I may be able to commune with Hephaestus and get some guidance.
Very well. By your leave. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully you receive word.
Hopefully. And you'll see.
All right. So, you guys gonna continue eating?
Mhm.
All right, sounds good. So, Thurgle, settling into your commune.
So I do see that I actually did have commune, and since I came out of the long rest, I was able to rearrange my spells.
Excellent.
It does have the R next to it, so am I able to do this as a ritual?
Yeah.
Perfect. I would love to do this as a ritual to save myself the spell slot.
Sure, that makes sense. So you set out some of your incense. You'll get 3 yes or no questions.
Just background thing, so we can focus solely on him. Valerica's going to identify all.
Valerica is going to identify all loot. Understood. So I will make sure to make a note of that.
Yes.
So I can tell you what you found.
Thank you.
Okay. Would you like those now, like real quick, because I can actually tell you exactly what you found?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't want to interrupt.
No, it's quick. It's quick. You have a bag of devouring,
Okay.
a bag of holding, 4 potions of.
One second. I'm just going to add it to the mansion inventory. We'll figure it out later.
Yeah, that's fine.
So we do have a question from chat saying that there is bad buffering right now as well.
Oh, good to know. I will see what we can do about the internet.
Fortunately, there's not a lot we can do right now about it.
That's unfortunate, but we'll see about solving that problem at some point in the future. Virtually nothing running on this computer. So. I was hoping Discord would solve that problem. It's less intensive.
Okay, so bag of devouring.
We appreciate your patience, everyone.
Bag of holding.
Yeah, bag of devouring, bag of holding. There were 4 potions, 2 of which were potions of longevity.
Okay.
And 2 were potions of supreme healing. There was also 1 suit of living armor.
Okay.
And you found an item very similar to the ones that you and Selima carry, the Aberrant Lord's Eye, in its awakened state.
Okay. I'm assuming that's something you're going to have to send me details on.
You should be able to search for it, actually.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. It should be there. If not, let me know. So, Thurgle, you lay out your incense, sprinkle your necessary components. You get that instant smell of burning herbs and things, and then as you enter in that kind of fresh, almost sweet smell, turns into the heavy, dense, acrid scent of a forge, which in a lot of ways is vastly superior. But you feel that warm, comforting presence when you work the heat of the forge, when you channel the divine energy that has been granted to you. You feel that same warmth and comfortable familiarity. So, you have 3 yes or no questions. What would you like to ask?
Hephaestus, thank you for taking your time from the forge. But I must urge these questions upon you for my people and for my sanity's sake. The visions provided by the Lord of Eyes, is there truth behind any of them for what I saw?
You feel a rising heat, and through your body, the reverberation of that strike of hammer on metal that is true and strong. You feel a decisive confirmation. We lost our music person.
With this vision, is this something that is happening as we speak to each other now.
You again feel the swelling of heat. And a brief pause before once again you do feel that reverberation of a powerful strike against metal. Another confirming blow.
Do I know this person who has stolen this ship?
A moment passes. And again that flare, as though a bellows is pushing air into a forge as it flares. You feel, again, can almost hear it this time, the clang of steel on steel. Another true strike. And as the final question you ask is answered, you feel the warmth of the forge dissipate. The smell returns to the fresh, light smell of incense. You find yourself back in the world around you.
Thank you for gracing me with your forge and your strikes. And after that, I will go join everyone outside.
Okay. Sounds good. Good. Okay. So, Selima, while Valerica is identifying, she gets like one in before Thurgle's done. So, what are your Selima? What are you and Thurgle doing?
News? Good news, I hope.
No. Not good news at all. Like Uther, it is truth. It is happening now. And Hephaestus has granted me the knowledge that I know who is exactly doing this. It may not be clear to me now, but I'm pretty sure I'll be very, very dissatisfied with who I find out who it is. So needless to say, I may be distracted if we are attempting to do anything else.
Can I speak while I'm doing this at all?
Yeah.
Or am I just kind of focused?
Sure, you can throw in like in between items.
That is terrifying, and we need to address that. Thurgle, do you want to go there? Should we make plans to go deal with this? Maybe next time, sorry.
Just 10-minute long chunks of silence in the conversation.
Lady Valerica, I understand your family is under some extreme duress right now. And I do not want to take you away from that. And I'm more than willing to be here because I do know that my country does have its ability to protect itself, but from what I'm feeling, this may be something that I may have to resolve to better efficiently. So I am not sure what I need to do right now.
Well,
10 minutes later.
I think
Why
we
don't-
can get us there. I think we can get us there and get back in a reasonable amount of time.
See what we can figure out as far as getting the teleportation circle to as close to or in your hometown as possible first. You still need a scryer for your quest for knowledge of money. So we have two things that we're waiting on, at least right now. So that's as good as anything. And while we're here, if any of us needs to get anything like components and stuff like that to aid you with your homes, like dealing with all the worship that you happen to see, it'd be a good thing to do while we're waiting for information and answers.
Essentially, at this point, I need as much metal, as much black powder, and as much assistance as I can get. Because if we're going to go against these people, they are on a forge ship. This is the most beautiful thing you can ever see. It is a ship made of nothing but complete metal. It is a floating forge that is almost impenetrable.
How can metal float?
It is the gift of Hephaestus. He provides us the ability to do so. We make these fortresses, and we just are gifted with the ability to create this armament that is unsinkable. But luckily, my travels with you, I may have found a way to sink it.
Sorry.
And at this point, if I do know who I think it is, I will sink it with them on board. They are going to go and see Hades first, and they will be essentially regretting it for the rest of their Zeus fucking curse them. Yes, we will curse them very easily with these cannons. But I need a lot of metal and some assistance.
Sounds like we need to go shopping. So,
Any particular metal, or is it just any metal?
stopping after the third item. Does everyone have an arguable? Because we have another one.
I have mine.
I have.
Selima. Alright.
Extra bag of holding, yay!
So this is a problem. And I pull out the eye.
What the fuck?
I'm done with eyes.
She pulls out this large, I think about the size of like a billiard ball. Smooth, glossy, absolutely intact eyeball. Like you can see it's like optic nerves still like trailing behind it. It still looks fresh and clean.
I said to not bring any parts with us. We weren't supposed to bring parts.
This isn't a heart. This is the same thing that you have on your back and the same thing I have on my head. This was a gift. This was an incredibly rare magical item.
Just like Zephyr?
Yeah, more powerful. And more powerful than what I'm wearing. But here's the problem. When you use it, you get tied to the far realm, and there's a slight chance that that breaks your mind and rips your soul from your body.
You gotta tell them the good stuff.
I see no loss to this. How could we lose?
Not it.
But
I'm already wearing a cursed item, right?
does your disintegrate smell?
Yes.
The what smell?
Disintegrate.
I don't think I know that.
Disintegrate is a powerful, powerful beam that absolutely atomizes what it touches. You cannot resurrect from disintegrate. When something's disintegrated, there's no body to return to.
And that thing can do that.
That thing can do this twice a day.
But there's a slim chance that you will suffer for that.
Yes, it also can dominate a monster. It can give you the gift of clairvoyance. And can place upon someone a crown of jagged thorns that allows you to control their thoughts and actions.
Forever?
To my previous statement and say, not it.
Well, not forever. They have a chance to resist it. It's when you get the crown that lasts for a minute. It's a very dangerous artifact.
So is the one I'm holding too, the orb.
Right, but that one doesn't come with a chance of attack. We didn't do too well against this. I'm gonna be real. He almost outnumbered this right. And he didn't use any of these on us.
That's his plan to win.
If
That's
he
right.
hits with the disintegrate right, doesn't matter how many players with us. No resurrection can happen. In fact, I think that's the one that was aimed at you with the globe.
I'm pretty sure that was going to be pretty devastating. So, and thank you for what you have done. And yet, I do not think Hephaestus would want me to wield such power.
That's fair. I don't want to leave this unattended. I think I might have mentioned.
I was gonna say, just lock it up.
I think the mission would be the safest right now.
Two bags look very similar. They are not. This one is the same as backpack. This one would be you.
Thoroughly, you recognize it instantly. You got one of these on your adventure in the plane, in the water.
Do I know what a bag of holding or a bag of devouring is? Probably.
You roll an Arcana check. If you've encountered one.
So, as Valerica shows, you just hear Thurgle.
18.
Uncommon, but you've run into them and you've heard of them before. You know that they'll consume pretty much anything you feed them.
It's a new pet.
Legend tells of a troop of... You remember hearing folklore, a troop of adventurers who sought an ancient vampire, and the only way that they defeated the vampire was by cutting off its head and throwing the head into the bag.
It is a surefire way to handle things. I mean, imagine putting a dragon into a squirrel and then putting the squirrel in there.
That sounds like fun.
It does. Also, what kind of living armor? There's literally no type.
Yeah, let me check. I apologize for not being more clear about that. That is a light set.
So standard leather.
Mm-hmm.
This disgusting black armor. Once you put it on, you can't take it off. And it requires fresh blood.
You guys look at this, and it is this. It looks like an insect that's kind of been like skinned and flayed. It's got this kind of black chitinous like material to it. It's kind of shiny in certain parts. You can kind of see like there's a little bit of like a pulse, like it's breathing, or like blood is pumping through it. You see kind of like red sinuous material. It looks very much like a thing you would have found in the halls of the Lord of Ice. Yeah.
So why did we bring the skin suit along?
Because it costs a lot of money. Because when you wear it, you are resistant to necrotic damage, poison damage, and psychic damage.
But once you put it on, you can never take it off.
Unless someone like you has a spell on it to remove a curse, because it is a curse item.
And you said it sustains itself with blood?
The armor requires fresh blood to feed it.
How much?
And whose?
It isn't the same, but I mean, after, like when you wake up after getting a full night's rest, you must either get half your remaining hit dice to armor,
Yeah,
or
so-
take exhaustion.
Yeah. So mechanically, every time you finish a long rest while wearing the armor, you have to feed it half of your hit dice, half of your remaining hit dice for that day in order to sustain it, or you will take a level of exhaustion.
So essentially, it feeds off of you when you sleep.
Yep. But it's +1 to AC, and you're resistant to necrotic poison, psychic damage.
But wait, there's more.
I mean, I'm good on the poison. It's good old dwarvish resilience. So
I'm good at necrotic. It's not that interesting for me.
And it does look like a light suit of armor, like leather or studded leather or something.
Selima, either you can wear it or Liv can wear it if you're willing to deal with the downsides.
I mean, you'd have to talk to Liv, but I know she loves her flare armor.
True. Very true.
Okay.
It requires attunement, right?
Yep.
It does. It does.
I'm quite content with the names upon me, personally. And I think the drawbacks are heavy.
That's fair. You guys can decide what you're going to do with it. Another
I
guy.
sell these for a good amount of money, or I can donate them to stave off some damage for later. Yeah. So we don't want either of these, is what we've established.
We should hold on to them.
The armor we can give or take. That one, maybe sell it to some young children as a prank. But the eye itself, we really need to make sure that does not fall into any other hands.
Well, I'm thinking of having a dragon eat it. It's a very long story, but it would permanently get rid of it.
Like I'm missing something?
Selima, did you swear in?
Oh yeah.
As you're about to answer, see an older gentleman, kind of graying hair, kind of pulled back, a little bit of a gruff. He's wearing kind of very clean blue robes. He's got a book tied to his side, a pouch on the other. Excuse me.
Yes.
I was summoned. My name is Willem. I am Prior.
Hello, Willem. Please have a seat. We have many questions.
Thank you, Countess. What can I do for you?
Well, pull out a contract. I need to get some information about the signature on this contract.
The signature on this.
The signature.
The signature. Ah, I see. So you would like for me to scry on an individual?
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, and do you have any other items that may be connected to them? Do you have a likeness or a image? Do you have any possessions?
Silent image. And do complete likeness, like they're standing there.
Okay, he kind of looks at him and says,
This is sister.
This does, thank you. And looks at it. And you can see he's like studying it fully. Very well. You wouldn't by any chance happen to have any hair or nail or some body part of theirs, would you? It simply makes it easier. It's not required.
I don't think so. Did either of you manage to grab anything from him?
I was in the house. I never met the guy.
May I inspect the contract?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So he pulls out from the inside of his robes this little tiny box that he kind of opens it, unfolds itself, and just lots of little implements. He pulls out what looks like a little monocle kind of thing. He's going through the whole contract, looking at the signature and everything. A moment or two passes. Well, if you don't have any other items, I can begin and see what we can find.
Please.
There you go. He reaches.
Then we have another person, and I kind of blur glances at Thurble, kind of like physically, that we want to scry on after.
Yes, but I have very little information on who. But I can definitely tell you about the ship.
A location then. Very well. First things first, I will begin with this. It'll be a few moments. Are there any things I should look for in particular? Any words I should listen out for? Any?
Well, one, we're just trying to figure out if this person still draws breath.
Very well.
So, because that is currently uncertain. And then, if you are able to find out any information about their whereabouts, the state of environment around them, the company they keep, any political intrigue, this was a ambassador in Gerravia.
His eyes kind of widen a bit, and he looks at all three of you. Very well. I will do my best to see what I can. Out of his pouch, he pulls this.
Wide eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. As he's pulling out a silver kind of mirror, looks incredibly detailed. He starts setting up a couple of other small components, lays out the contract.
I'm going to admire the mirror.
You know, my mirror. It looks fantastic, and it looks like there's a very handsome dwarf in there too. 13. It looks a bit surprised that you'd be spying on a foreign dignitary, because that's really what it is spying. But other than that, you can't see anything past the, just the initial like, okay, I'll spy on someone from a different nation for you. Yeah, absolutely.
It's not spying, it's scrying.
Potato. But he begins his ritual of casting. You can see him utter a few words in motion, his hands a bit, and then gazes into the mirror. A few seconds pass, and he says, I apologize. It seems as though I was not able to make a connection with this individual.
Does that confirm death?
Unfortunately, it does not. Some are able to resist the effects. Harder to do so if you have something intrinsic to them. But with these items, it should not have been too easy to resist. It should have been quite a challenge. So I would say that it is either likely that he has indeed perished or is very willful and able to repel. I may attempt to do this again in 24 hours, if you would like me to do so, to confirm.
Right, yes.
If there is a location that you know this individual to frequent, I could also attempt to cast.
How long have you been in service in the house?
How long have I been in service? It's going on, I believe, 7 years now.
Have you gone through the ritual?
The ritual? You are speaking of the oath of loyalty?
Yes.
Of course I have, yes.
Wonderful. Can you please scry on the capital of Gerravia for me and tell me what you see?
Any particular location within the
The
capital?
capital building itself.
The royal palace. I'm not particularly familiar with that location, unfortunately.
Silent image. Everything that I saw as I walked in.
He studies it for a bit.
Actually, would I have to do silent image for this, or can I do minor illusion?
You can
What would
do
be more powerful? Does it matter? Because minor illusions cantrip, silent image is like spell slot. Yeah,
I would say silent image is probably more likely to work because it's bigger and probably more detailed.
So I'll do silent image.
Okay.
And you see the castle, like, all stacked in the buildings, all shantily stacked and, like, kind of, like, skewed and cobblestone everywhere.
Okay.
Very monochrome.
Okay.
Dreary. Dirty.
Fair enough. He studies the image. I will do my best to observe. And he begins his ritual casting again. And he looks into the mirror and he's gazing. He says, well, it appears that the location exists, but not quite as you depicted. It appears to be in quite a shambles. It's quite loud. People seem to be shouting and seems to have been struck by some form of devastation. Looking, see what I can. You can kind of see he like peers, like he's trying to get a closer look. Seems as though the parts of the building I can see have sustained quite a bit of damage. It's hard to make out the details. Is there anything you would like me to look for in particular while I'm here?
Any sort of organized government still in place? Or does it follow us?
It is impossible to say from here. This spell is limited to only a short range. You give me a moment, I can attempt to listen and see what I can ascertain.
Please.
He sits quietly for 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. And holds out as you can see the spell ends. It appears to be, from the things I could hear, that there is some kind of evacuation and a search and rescue underway. Much like an earthquake.
Did they mention who they were searching and rescuing for, or was it just a reclamation effort?
It appears to be a bit of a cacophony. It seems as though they are in quite a bit of disarray and chaos. There were no individuals in particular that stood out from what I could hear. There were a few names called, but they sounded as though they were potentially friends or loved ones, as one might expect. You see his eyes are a little shell shocked. Like he's got that kind of stare that hasn't quite broken. Even though the spell has ended, it still looks as though he's gazing at the location in a lot of ways, and his voice is becoming kind of quieter and softer. This is quite a bit of trouble that they are in. Forgive me, Countess. Master, you had a...
Would you like some tea?
That would be appreciated, thank you. You can see he kind of sinks in a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get him some tea. I'm not even gonna send somebody. I'm gonna go get him some tea while Fergal describes what's going on.
Okay. He kind of shakes his head. You had a location for me to try on this lesser.
Yes, but do you need a moment?
He kind of cracks a very wan smile. Very lackluster and truly lacking any mirth. Do you expect that this location to be a source of devastation as well?
Not necessarily, but yes. If not worse than what you're looking at, but if not the same.
Then if you would not mind, I would like to take a short rest.
I'm going to turn to Carter and say, the areas we're having you look for, we've heard of extreme devastation and friends and visions and things like that. That's why you're here.
Understood. It is the hazard of the job. Sometimes you see some unsavory things.
I must ask, Mage, what is your name again?
Willem.
Willem, have you seen any sort of this devastation in person?
A few times, yes. I spent a short stint as an adventurer before I turned to studies.
And
so I did see some horrible things.
And has this involved anyone you know or love?
I've lost friends and companions before, but it's been some time. I do ask.
I am sorry for your loss.
Smile has a slight hint of warmth to it. Thank you. I appreciate the kindness of your words.
And the only reason I ask is because once I describe what's going on, you're going to reveal that information to me.
Understood.
So, as much as you need the rest, I know that once I'm given this information, I may not react well as myself. So, we're in this together, and once you get your tea, let me know when you're ready.
Understood. Thank you. Only a few more minutes before Valerica comes in with tea, and he takes it. Thank you, Countess. You honored me with your generosity.
Absolutely.
Kind of a little shaky with his sipping of the tea as he kind of takes a few breaths and calms himself. Puts aside. Right. So, with that in mind, thank you for the tea. I appreciate it. This will be the last instance of being able to cast a spell that I can do today. So if you would not mind being as precise as you can with your descriptions, and if you do have any items or any physical connection to the location, that would be ideal.
So, GM question. Yeah. With the vision that I was provided, would I have the exact information of where it was, if I've been there, if I've interacted with any of the people that I saw?
Roll a history check.
16.
16. There are a lot of there are a lot of fishing villages where you come from. A very widespread maritime tradition. The exact one, you're not sure. You do know the Ford ship well. You did work on them. You kind of had a hand in their maintenance and their upkeep. So you're very familiar with the ships themselves. But as far as the exact location, you can describe it relatively well. But you're not familiar with the specific village that it was attacking.
Okay, so I will describe the village setting itself, but I will go into complete detail of everything that I saw of the ship specifically in my vision.
Okay. You describe it as a very unique location. I will do my best. I believe this should be sufficient.
I appreciate it.
Locations are easier in some ways, harder in others. He again begins his casting. And is there anything you want me to look out for in particular?
If you can see the ship directly, I want to see if you may be able to tell me who is at the wheel itself. And maybe first mate, who usually stands aside the captain who tends to steer the ship. But if you can see who's on the control deck, I would appreciate that information very much.
Okay. He pours himself into this mirror again, gazing into it. I think I see the ship. The view is limited. I think I see men and women walking across the deck. It seems as though they are performing the regular duties of no, I'm not an expert in sailing, but it seems as though they're doing what they're supposed to. No sign of a captain or first mate yet. We'll give it a few more minutes. Turtle, what does your nemesis look like?
My nemesis, I don't remember if I got a clear view of him, but I do know he was on that pirating ship that took my ship out. He was a dwarf of stature, probably a little bit taller than me, a little bigger, so he always felt more superior. If I remember correctly, he was older than me, graying, and always wore a bandolier across his chest with a couple of daggers through it.
Okay. As your mind is recalling these details, parts of you are hoping that this individual you've never learned the name of, but definitely had a typical run-in with hoping that this is the person that the scribe sees. Another 2 or 3 minutes pass. The room is quiet. He gazes and he says, "See an elven man, hand, skin, tattoos everywhere. New, large scar across his face, missing an eye. Do you recognize this one? He seems to be in a position of import."
He sounds familiar. Keep describing him.
It's lean, carries 2 blades at his side. Part of an ear is missing as well. There's another man standing next to him now. Cannot make out what they're saying. This one, in grey, holds weathered dwarf. Perhaps important. He wears one that is entirely too big.
It is possible he is wearing the Commodore's hat, but he may not have actually earned.
It's hard to make out any more details. I apologize.
Can you tell me one thing? Does he have that bandolier across his chest? He might have one of those daggers missing. There was evidence for.
I will attempt to see. He kind of peers in a lot closer. He does wear many daggers. None look missing, but he has many of them. He's fading from, and then see his vision kind of glitching. Oh, I apologize. I lost track of the time of that spell. I appreciate the risk of devastation.
I appreciate your service.
Of course, I'm happy to help. Please do not hesitate to call for me again. If you require any assistance, I should be able to do so in the morning.
I would very much like to repeat this fire attempt in the morning, just to verify if this person is in fact deceased, or what.
Very well, I will be sure to remain on the grounds.
Wonderful.
Countess, on guests.
Thank you, Willow. If you ever need any of your mirrors or mental tools repaired, let me know.
Kind of inclines his head towards you. Thank you. I will keep that in mind. And he sees himself from the room.
So at this point, you just see Thurl.
So who's that to you?
He's the one that sunk my ship and killed the rest of my crew.
Do you want blood?
His name escapes me, but I know it is him. He has somehow managed to get a hold of one of the Ford ships. And we need to bring Hephaestus' wrath upon him as soon as we can.
Then I shall set an inquiry for teleportation circle.
And we need those materials for those cannons to ensure this happens efficiently.
Right. Where is that architect? They may have access to a lot more materials. Let's go find them. Yeah.
I need a moment.
If we don't want to hide, I need to go do something with it. Yeah? Cool. Okay.
Feel free.
Yes.
I go for
You have a brother? Okay. Yeah, she's in one of her reading rooms. Come in.
Hey,
Hello, Callie. Hi.
good. I have something
Darling, you have a lot of things.
to feed to the dragon.
Not like you to. It's not like you to come up with things, obviously.
This is a bad thing.
Very well. Yeah.
It's a very powerful bad thing. Yes. We'll put the eyeball on her desk.
She kind of looks at it. Looks up at you, just absolute flat expression.
It was disgusting.
You know, I don't think he's going to want to eat this.
Wait until you see what it does.
You're performed very kind of quickly the spells that you're used to. He looks at it and eyes gonna widen.
Yeah. I'll probably want that.
Where did you get this?
Ripped it out of the thing I just killed.
You ripped it out of the device.
Yes.
That doesn't. You see her head is kind of churning through decades of books that she's read. As much history as she can possibly gather. This is similar to the other artifacts that you have.
It is. But this one's away. Mine's asleep. It's this one's dead that has me offer.
No, that makes sense. I mean, it sounds about right for something out of the Dynasty. I admit I'm not the expert at the ancient magics of the time. Low as I have suggested, you do have a contact who's much better at this than I am.
Which one are you thinking of?
Well, your previous employer.
Marina.
She did study these things. She also seemed to have a disinterest in many of them.
I don't want to hand it to her for fear of it falling into the hands of another bureaucracy that, let's be honest here, is trying to be the next.
Truth.
So, how about you go convince the kind, the network, to eat it, so none of us have to attempt it.
I will throw it on the pile. You wouldn't by any chance happen to have anything else to spam, would you? You're sending quite a trove.
Possibly. You know what? I can power. Or hold.
You'll probably take both. He just needs the magic that's woven into them.
I'm gonna have to offer some explanation for why I'm taking all the magic items from the group.
I would definitely do that.
Maybe I'll do that before I commit to any others, but that is yours.
Thank you. Truly a wonderful gift, darling.
Great flowers next time.
Did Willem find you? All right.
Yes. It's bad. All of the portents were bad.
Well, I'm not surprised you destroyed a capital city of a foreign nation.
What?
Let's be real. You did, and it's kind of amazing. It happens. You're hardly the first one to do it. You won't be the last.
I did it for my brothers.
That's true. But we'll see which one beats the dragon first. Kind of squints at you.
Shake my head, smile, and walk out of the room. I dress the group back at this. However, like 5 minutes it takes me to walk through these places.
Yeah, not that bad. It's big, but it's not like it's gonna take you forever.
I would like to move us to a private area for this conversation. If you'll accompany me, we have a situation room down the hallway.
You do?
By all means. Are you coming, Thurgle? Are you ready, or do you still need a moment?
You're on mute.
I just noticed that. Where is the forge in this town?
You're in a hole.
So Valeria, you would know that there's kind of a small smithy that's kind of on site that's mostly done for like spot repairs, but about a half day's travel into Warbury, you find an actual blacksmith there.
Earlier as mentioned. His name is Christoph.
So there's a smithy close by, or is it the half day's travel?
On the grounds. It's not Brent's smithy. It's
I need to go pay a visit.
nothing about things you've heard. So that makes sense.
And even if you were to say to me, I don't think I would retain or be able to partake in the conversation. I need to go clear my head by banging some steel.
This is also about taking your own forward.
Eventually, which is what I would have done if we had it ready, but the smithy will do.
We're working on it. Sling.
Yes.
Not
I'm ready.
you. Sling.
Oh, you have a mason named Celine, okay. Yes, ma'am.
Would you mind showing Master Thurgle to the smithy, please?
Right away. Master Turtle, come with me, please.
Selima, Valerica.
We'll
See
see
you
you.
soon.
Selima. I have a story for you. Maybe
Alright.
way over to the picture.
Okay, yeah, you find one of the several meeting rooms that you use. It's usually pretty well protected.
How much do you know the history of Alchemy?
DM, how much do I know of this?
Selima, roll a history check.
DM, I am. Oh, jeez. That's a 9.
So you grew up in the North.
I didn't trouble myself with political affairs and things like that too much. I helped the lesser man.
That's fair. Allow me to bring up
So I will fill in some of the things you do know.
Perfect.
Yeah, so
You know,
you know that Elbenor as a nation, as a kingdom, is about 8.5 centuries in its development. You know that it was founded by the current monarchy, which has managed to hold power for the entire time, which is very impressive considering, political fighting. I'm sorry, not 800 years. It's been 700 years. 700 years. As to the full details, who knows? One day, a lord simply took the land and then demanded taxes, as far as most of the peasant folk are concerned. But right around that time, things did get a lot easier. There were a lot less roving monsters around. Dragons kind of just disappeared, and villages entered into a lot more of a peaceful state, enough to produce enough, goods and crops to be taxed, not just to survive on a day-to-day basis. So all in all, a little bit of good, a little bit of bad, but it's been about 700 years, and it's about what you know for certain as far as more local knowledge of the country.
Going to relay that and say I honestly tended to keep the outside areas. I avoided cities as often as I could.
So, the lands of Eleanor, before the current monarch took power, were wild and tamed. Chromatic dragons who my ancestors came in and started clearing them out with the help of a gold dragon, who had other dragons, but I believe details get a little less clear. My ancestors made a pact with this dragon to protect these lands, to make these lands more habitable, because chromatic dragons are diametrically opposed by nature. So, my family started a pact, and keeping in line with to be more of a soldiers than the actual monarchs. Ended up bringing in this other family, creating a deal with them, where they would essentially run day to day while my ancestors kept the land safe. That dragon is still alive.
Is that common?
No. It's not known, because it's not something that we want people to know. So that dragon has a pact that goes on with my family, and I myself am actually a descendant of that dragon. Every year, we're tasked with retrieving magical items from the dragon. Up till this year, I didn't really know why. It was fulfill your side pact, and everything's okay. One year when my ancestors did not fail the side of the pact, and my household size went from over 100 to 3. So we take it pretty seriously. Now, the artifacts that were required to complete the tree.
Was that the quest that I met you all up on, or was that something different?
That was it. There was a diamond that was looking for in our cave that was requested by the dragon. Recently, it came to light that not only is the gold dragon still alive, but so is the red dragon that likely goes inside. And the gold dragon has been consuming the magic items to keep himself more powerful than the ancient red dragon that he's keeping today.
Okay. So is it more powerful the items the better it is for him? Or is it just like a quantity over quality kind of thing?
I don't know. I don't know how this conversion works at all. I'm barely catching up at this point about what's actually happening, because the dragon has only ever spoken to the head of the house. And there were some strange things this year that required in-depth investigation because of that. I actually haven't think about it in 7 months. Because he's been trying to figure out what's going on.
So he's with the dragon right now then?
I don't know, I think. We get very fragmented information. But something about the situation is dramatically changed. And now we need to get all of the magic items we're coming across as a family to this dragon. I don't know what's happening, but it sounds like we're gearing up to fight a red dragon, the ancient red dragon, who used to destroy everything that lived on this country. So that's why I wanted to hide, because that makes me helpful. And I don't want to stop it. I don't want to use it. I'm good with it now.
My next question is, does this dragon obtain the perks and benefits of these items, or is it just trying to meet a quota?
No, it's trying to pull the magic out of items to then empower himself.
So he doesn't get the perks of the spells from it?
No. Doesn't matter what it is. If you can put that power into the high, it's just about supplying a constant stream of power.
In Selena's mind, she's basically just thinking of a giant gold dragon, someone's taking a shovel and throwing things into its mouth like a kiln thing. It's really what she's contemplating at this point, going, okay.
Just every magic item ever, just...
So that's what's going on.
Okay. So I can see why we were trying to get through the lovely meat cavern as fast as we are.
Something about the situation has dramatically changed. But I know that let's turn back on the prize of this gold dragon. Because last time, my family almost got wiped out. You may wonder why we're so close today, why we're so transparent. This is why. We lost everything. We're still recovering. Of the Indrik bloodline, today, there's only 7.
Do the other holds and kingdoms know that?
No.
Okay. So as far as they're concerned, it's still bustling, there's tons of people, tons of Indriks, all over the place.
Oh, do they know that? Yes. Do they know why? No.
No, I wouldn't expect them to know why. I'm just saying.
No, they know that.
Because from 300 to 3 is quite a drastic change.
Yeah. It's a battle that is constantly dealing with. It's trying to make sure that we're not losing everything we watched the game since the founding of the country.
So the next course of action will be to help Turtle fix this problem.
Let's help Turtle fix this problem. I think that over all this crazy kind of stuff that we just saw into the pile, then when we come back, gearing up for the dragon.
That'd be one heck of a feat.
Indeed.
Think anyone sells cores of air elementals anywhere?
We should just go ask them on shopping. Maybe get lucky.
Just
No.
the random back alley like pawn shop, like some John on his luck wizard had to pawn his last like air elemental core just to get like an ale, like this supremely powerful magical component of the pawn shop. Guys like, yeah, I'll give you 2 cover.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. No.
Dang. Good shot.
I mean, you can check Warbury. It's the next closest city over, so you can check.
We're about a 3-day ride.
I was actually incorrect. It's only about a half day travel.
Oh, half day, perfect.
Yeah, so you're a lot closer.
Warbury. That would be the next closest area to get magical supplies. Daenerys, probably left. By the way, we need to go on her.
Do you have a way of communicating with her so you find out where she is?
No, but Liv does.
She's sleeping.
Is Liv still sleeping? Okay.
Right.
I mean, I don't blame her. I mean, at this point, we'll see what happens.
I mean, in all fairness, it's only really been a couple hours. It's not all that bad. Like, she slept the entire day. Still early.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Um,
I know that Thurgle desperately needs items for his cannons.
Yes.
We also should probably secure a wagon so we can transport those cannons successfully. If we still have a wagon.
We're gonna need a wagon.
Yeah, and I don't tend to like traveling with wagons, but it's the only way to transport those cannons successfully.
Ha! In the mansion.
I get into a mansion with a cave. You live in a farm and spend 100 gold for truck to get the mansion. They're big. This is not a reliable thing.
So when you guys are talking about logistics of your next shopping trip, Thurgle, you are led by the older maid, Celine, apparently. Through the estate, you see kind of guards everywhere, a couple of adventuring types running around, people exercising. You can see there's people practicing combat forms of different types. It's a busy place. You see kind of on like the other half of the grounds is kind of a very serene and tranquil spot where it's like a lovely garden where there's nobody bothering anyone. There's like a cacophony of activity, like a military training camp over on one side. You eventually are kind of led towards the grounds, pretty far from the actual main house. If you look back, you see the full manor. Lovely, huge kind of construction. Still very simple in its design, very functional. But far away from it, you can see the makings of a small, really a repair smith. Not really one that's designed to like forge and output large amounts of weapons and armor, but one that's there to like sharpen blades and reforge broken ones, or top up on repairs, that kind of thing. Maintain armor. And while you're there, you see this kind of very very muscle bound human kind of male. He's got this kind of like long like truss of hair that's kind of pulled back into a bun, like this big like thick cloth holding hair back off his face. He's got as you're kind of on approach, that familiar smell of the forge can hit your nose, and it's an instant zen for you sometimes. Just you hear the familiar clatter of metal on metal. It doesn't have the cadence and the flow that you're used to. It's a little bit more rustic. It's functional, it'll do the job, but it's not artisanal. It's not like supreme quality. He's getting it done. It'll service any kind of combat or anything that needs to do whatever it is that he's working on. Like he's working on a dagger currently. He kind of wipes some like heavy sweat off of him, and he turns to look and maybe like nods and gestures you forward. Celine's gonna go ahead. Doesn't seem like she wants to get too close. As this kind of large, like heavily tanned human looks to you. Hi there.
Good evening, my good sir. Oh, excuse me. Good morning. Sorry, it's been a day. Do you need assistance?
Assistance, can't say I do, but is there something particularly you're gonna do? You need a blade repaired, or what's going on? What can I do for you, sir?
I was willing to bestow you with some assistance if you needed any new weapons forged, new armors, even maybe a new tool for yourself.
Kind of looks at you and he kind of adopts like a little bit more of a stern. You know how to swing a hammer?
I've thrown a couple in my life.
You ever worked forge before?
Maybe once.
Well, I'm not one to say no to help, but alright, we'll start you off on something simple. I've got a spare anvil over there, spare hammer. Why don't you grab some of those rods over there and try some nails? Can I do that?
Any specific type of nail? Do you want a quarter tip? Do you want a mason's nail? Do you want a woodworker's nail?
Yeah, but then we let you exactly how forge, don't you?
Like I said, I've thrown a hammer or two in my life.
Yeah, alright, I bet it's more like 100 or 200, eh? Alright. I like some mason's nails.
Mason's perfect. Do you need them to be more dull, more sharp? What type of stone is you expecting with these, or just your generic?
Just make them all purpose.
All purpose? Do you want a specific quantity?
Let me see how many you make in the next hour or so.
Perfect.
Alright. He kind of looks at you. He's eyeing you now. He's like, I don't know about this one. Like, pulling tricks on me. Like, he goes back to kind of hammering away at what he's working on. So what you gonna do?
Since he gave me an hour, I'm going to use my channel divinity, or my blessing of the forge, excuse me.
Blessing of the forge.
So use it to make 100 gold pieces worth of nails. Like, not even pick up the hammer.
Okay. That's an amazing number of nails. Okay. That's
essentially as much material as he has.
I mean, essentially, it's going to be, yeah. Okay, yeah, let me see exactly how many nails you would get out of that. It's good lord. That's a lot of nails. There we go. Let's see if we can get this. I don't even know what to call that. That's hilarious. Nails are just exist, by the way. The next closest, I suppose darts would be the next closest.
I would say that a nail, like one nail, or like a group of 10 nails, is probably 2 copper.
You're probably right.
So math from there.
Minus material provided, of course. Because I would not go overboard. I would just take exactly what he provided for the nails and make as much as I could with my ability.
As much as you possibly could. All right. Let's see how much material.
And if it's fewer nails, they're going to be very intricate looking. They may even have the House of Indrik on the tip.
I love that.
Oh my
Not the
God.
tip, but the part that you have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you're gonna run out of material before you run out of magic. So you're gonna end up with 400 nails. All of which have a tiny, perfectly forged and engraved symbol of the Indrik family. They are pristine. They are stunning. They're flawless. And how long does it take for you to do your blessing?
It is an hour.
Okay, so you spent the full hour doing it.
Yes.
Okay. So by the end of the hour, he kind of looks back at you a couple of times because you got this whole thing happening. You're zoned in, focused this whole time. He's kind of looking at you, like by the time your focus breaks, and there's just nails everywhere. Just nails. He kind of looks at you. Who the hell are you?
I am a cleric of Hephaestus.
Well, I think I've heard of him.
I grab one of the nails and toss it to him.
Catches it. Oh, Godspeed, that's the nicest looking nail I've ever seen. You know, magic's cheating.
Yes, but like I said, I've swung a hammer a few times. This is just what Hephaestus provides.
Right, 'cause you haven't had this swing hammer. Got it. All right. Oh, you showed me. It's a lot of nails for an hour.
Precisely. And truth be told, I didn't come here to really talk gods or anything. But is there anything you need help hammered out? I need to clear my mind, and if you'd like to learn some tricks, I'm willing to teach you something.
You know what? I can respect that. Come on, let's get some actual hammering in.
Sounds good. Let's do
Plenty
it.
to work with. He starts showing you around the forge. He's got blades to fix. He's got studded leather to repair. It's not glamorous, but there's plenty of chainmail that needs working. He's got there's a lot more work than he had kind of indicated. But it seems like a lot of just kind of standing, like looking around. You're realizing that a lot of the weapons and a lot of the armor that come out of this place get brutalized on a regular basis. Like this is really they're put through every possible test all the time. It's intense. But yeah, he shows you around, to some of the things that need to get done. And, yeah, there's a lot to do.
Smith, what is your name?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's rude of me. I'm Christoph. Nice to meet you. What's your name?
Pleasure. I am Thurgle Nightbane.
Thurgle Nightbane. All right. Great to meet you, Thurgle Nightbane.
And the pleasure is mine as well.
All right, what brings you here?
Lady Valerica, actually.
Oh,
I'm
one of her
traveling.
friends, eh?
I'm sorry?
One of her friends.
Yes, sir.
Lucky man, woman.
Very proud.
Don't piss her off, though. I've seen her get into a bar fight.
I've seen a lot of bar fights, so I can definitely know what she's capable of.
Old friend of mine, didn't end up with many teeth left.
He's lucky he still had the face.
Well, truth be told, kind of deserve to lose that too. The right pain in the arse when he gets drunk, but he learned his lesson.
Well, when you cross Lady Valerica that way, you get what you deserve.
That's what they say. Always stay on the good side of the Indriks.
Precisely.
Good people. I like that.
But if at any point you would like to discuss possibly the ability of what I showed with the nails, I can definitely talk to you about it. But it's up to you. At this time, I'm going to start working on your blades and hopefully give you some good repair.
I'm not doing much fun for working with the gods, but if you can teach me a little bit of that magic there, that'd be great. I mean, it takes a god, it takes a god. I'm not one to turn away a good end. I mean, I can do some small things myself, but nothing like that.
Well, let's just say Hephaestus grants those the power of the forge. So, as long as you're willing to believe and understand that he provides you your power, then that's all you really need. His worship comes through the smack of the hammer.
He's kind of nodding his head. He's like, I wonder if he knows Kier. Yeah, maybe.
If you accept Hephaestus and he grants you his powers, you might be able to ask him directly.
Yeah, right. I've always wondered if all the gods know each other. Maybe there's Hephaestus, maybe knows Paint Sage. Maybe they'll get together and hammer things out.
In honesty, I knew another cleric who worshipped a separate god that was aware of other gods, so it is possible.
Well, sometimes too big for me to think about. I just, simple men. But if it works, it works. So yeah, I'll listen to you and your Festus.
Of course. So essentially, as we're working, I'm going to just explain to him Hephaestus, his power, how he's guided me, and
kind of hammer in the finer details.
Exactly.
Hammer in the point. Got it, right? As you're kind of talking, he shares a little bit about kind of like local beliefs. You learn a little bit more about Kier, the Painted Sage, who is the in the Central Kingdoms, at least, especially in the western portions of the Central Kingdoms, is the more accepted god of crafts and art, and does, from what you're hearing, seems to hold domain over forges in that, but not like a dedicated like Festus kind of way, but similar kind of concepts. Like you can imagine, like, as you're listening, as you're learning, as you're sharing, you can imagine maybe if they run into each other, they probably get along. They probably craft some pretty stupendous things, pretty phenomenal divine objects if they had their opportunity to.
And Thurgle will mention essentially that's where it sounds like if you're able to accept both of them because they're capable of what they're doing, what they do, you might be able to produce some exceptional items.
Yeah, all right. See now, if others came up to people and were like, hey, you should join our temple because you'll get some fancy powers, then might get some more recruits. But I'm saying,
Of course, and mainly I know Hephaestus grants his powers to those that are a little more particular to the Forge, those that are willing to put the blood, the sweat, the anguish into their work, because who else deserves it? You're servicing others, you're also servicing yourself, and the appreciation is shown through the work, and that is what Hephaestus loves.
I can respect that. Good odd day's work. Yeah. I like it. I like you, Dougal.
I'm very appreciative of you myself, sir. Thank you for allowing me into your Forge.
Absolutely, yeah. Feel free to come back anytime. Anytime. Friend of Valerica Indrik, friend of the Countess, friend of mine, friend of the Forge, friend of mine. I look forward to seeing you come by again.
Of course, and in all honesty, I know you are a master blacksmith of yourself.
I think Leland and I've got a lot to learn.
And in all honesty, if you were willing, I could teach you everything I know in my own techniques, my own abilities, in addition to what Hephaestus has provided. And that's only if you were willing, my good friend.
Well, it's been a long time since I've been an apprentice, but I might just take you up on that offer if you're going to be around for long enough.
How is critical self-care and self-repair going to converting people? Like, what I'm bringing followers into this.
Makes sense to me.
Essentially, he's providing himself back up to make more cannons.
I love that.
That's what we're breaking down to.
That's really funny. That's really funny. Thinking ahead. More Forge clerics I get, the more cannons I can make.
But my good friend, there is a possibility, which may be far in the future, but if you're willing to take this apprenticeship, I know I can guarantee you at least a head of a Forge that maybe one of the first of providing goods to around the entire countryside, entire world as a possibility. So if it is something that you're interested in, you can maybe apprentice somebody here to take over what you do, and then come with us as a possibility to start a new life somewhere.
It's an interesting proposition. Right. Providing things to the entire world sounds like a lot, though. Not for one person.
It does. You will not be alone. You will be taking recruits that you will then apprentice yourself, that essentially you would have a commercial Forge in eventuality. That essentially would be under you.
He kind of looks at you. Yeah. Right. I used to think I was pretty bad at networking. Seems like you know you're on the right spots.
Exactly. It does happen to be location, especially for blacksmith.
Well, you know what? I do enjoy my work with the Indriks, so I'll think in your offer.
Of course. And in consideration, you wouldn't necessarily be leaving the Indriks. You would just be shifting your position and location.
Well, that's different. That makes it a lot easier. I'm interested in that. Yeah.
Perfect. If at any point you need to get a hold of me, just let any of the servants know. They should be able to know at least the fastest way to get a hold of Lady Valerica and myself.
All right. If I need to get a hold of you, I'll go through the channels, as it were.
Perfect. And don't think you have to give me an answer right away, because this is still something that may be coming in the future.
All right. I appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate it. And as we were talking, I'd like to take that time to really fine-tune one of the tools, maybe a specific peen hammer that would really help put edges on daggers and swords and stuff. Really fine-tune. Okay. And then essentially give that to him as a gift.
Okay. Go ahead and make a strength check, and you can add your proficiency modifier because you have proficiency with blacksmithing tools.
I'm gonna go to bed, guys. I'm not blind that shit.
Oh wait, but he has the divine channeling and things like that. No advantage, right?
You know what? Sure. I'll allow advantage. Because that one is just astounding to me.
All this Empire talk. That one.
Alright, I'll take that one. 16.
16? Okay. You just spent some time, you realize that one of the hammers probably could have been forged a little bit better to begin with. You take the time kind of, shape and then rework it a little bit, and you harden it, and you're pretty confident that you tried to throw a little bit of divine power into there. It looks a little nicer, it's a little cleaner, a little bit more masterwork than not. And he kind of looks at it. All right. I like that.
It is yours, my friend. Do not consider it a bribe, but as thanks for allowing me in your forge.
I wasn't gonna until you said it, but thank you. Looks you're kind of feeling it like he's sentences gets kind of cut off. He's like feeling balance in the weight of it. Swings it around kind of haphazardly a little bit, just trying to get a feel for it. All right. Well, thank you for the gift, sir. Thank you for the gift of your time as well.
You're very welcome, and thank you very much for allowing me into your forge and getting some of my frustration off.
I was happy to have you. So, if you want to come back and make some more nails, let me know.
Of course, as many custom nails for the House Indrik.
All right. He's kind of like, no, his intention is not going to this hammer. He's like kind of thinking about like, wow, all right, I could do things with this. You've got a lot to think about.
And with that, I'm going to head back to the mansion.
Okay. All right.
Or at least to try to meet up with Flare Consumer.
Okay. So for the last couple hours, what Flare Consumer did do?
So got through identifying everything and cataloging it, waiting to talk to the party before I got it to the fire.
Okay.
Just drums.
Okay. Just going on a little tour. Nothing particular. All right. Fantastic. So with you, I'm taking a bit of a day of rest. It's still early, so you could even make it to work in this time.
We haven't heard from the architect yet.
Oh, fair. So I would say in these 2 hours you would have heard from the architect without a problem.
Is the architect on site or are they in Warbury?
They are currently in Warbury.
Okay, then that's definitely let's go to Warbury.
Okay.
And get all the masses of things that we need.
All right. So yeah, they're eventually smelling of soot and hard work of the forge. They're able to meet up with you guys about, I'd say, about noon at this point. So you guys will make it just before sundown if you leave to Warbury. Plenty of places to stay there though.
And also open us and circle back.
That's also true.
Like we have stuff.
Yeah. So are you gonna be heading up? All right. You taking horses, carriage, or walking?
Carrot.
Okay.
Good and oil.
All right. So you go through the process of calling over a servant who brings a single enclosed 4-horse strong carriage enough for the 3 of you. You have your driver ready to go. He kind of nods when the servant opens the door and leads you all in. And you guys are off. Go over.
So as we're riding, I'm going to mention to Valerica, Lady Valerica, I had a few words with your smithy on site, and I dropped the bug in his ear to essentially become my apprentice, and essentially be able to eventually either grant him ability to commune with Hephaestus himself, or at least give him the techniques and abilities to create more weapons, more armors, more items, to be essentially the headmaster of the next forge that would possibly be this new land that is acquired for the House Indrik.
Alright then. He's not an artisan by any time.
Not right now, but I have a few years of forging, plus Hephaestus if he does decide to grant him power, if he chooses to accept it. He would be very good within a very short amount of time with practice.
Alright, we need to train our replacements.
Of course, I'd like to know that. So essentially, we'll have to look for another person who's interested in doing smithing repairs, and can even show him the ropes myself if we need to.
Or we can find someone. Sure. We
So
need to monsters all have staff in the area, but yeah, so.
Of course.
As we're in route, I'm going to all like the stuff we're done to give Zelina, so that's all that information as well.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good.
Well, that's why I wanted to send an air out too. Just kind of,
Out.
yeah, basically.
Okay. Yeah, go make a perception check, Charlie.
And it is a dare's perception mine.
Yours. Theirs.
That's what you rolled
Yeah,
the
theirs.
That's 19 plus 4. 23.
Okay. Yes, you are right. It's quite refreshing, honestly, to not have to worry very much about there being any hazards on the road. You know, you look around and a lot of the land is cultivated. You pass by a couple of smaller farmsteads, smaller, very tiny kind of communities. Farms in the area are kind of growing late in the year crops, some of them. Many fields are kind of barren, but you occasionally see a guard patrol in the distance. You can see the river off, several miles away. And you can just barely see kind of on the horizon the beginnings of the city that's kind of sat atop a hill, which you would have seen before, having been here for the Festival of Heroes. But it's quiet and there's some convenient disturbance as you all make your way towards the city of Warbury, where you begin your adventure to find Lord Vides, unknowingly. You return in the not festival time to go and see what you can find. But happy to be at peace with no real trouble on the road thus far. We're going to wrap our evening. We'll pick up next time with you guys in the city, doing a real shopping trip before you figure out what your next steps are. Possibly traveling to Mistros to hunt down a forged ship, trying to find out more about what's going on with the Crimson Tempest, the dragon. But we'll see what happens next time. Thank you guys. Nice quiet episode today. It was great.
It's been unlike the recent episodes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, players, and thank you to those of you who are watching. We appreciate you. We appreciate your patience. We appreciate your time with us. Thank you so much, and we will see everybody next week. Take care. All right, we're good. Heavy roleplay. I like it.
It was fun. It was nice.
Right, nice kind of reprieve from desperation. I'm actually really glad that we didn't jump into something more dire. Definitely played with the idea of immediately throwing you guys into a kerfuffle, but I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, definitely appreciate the reprieve.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For sure. I'm very interested to see what you guys do, if anything, with living armor.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're kicking out of the dragon at this point.
Do what?
Kicking it over to the dragon.
Oh, fair enough.
I also have a spell that you're gonna hate me for.
What?
Short value. Doubles the value of everything I'm trying to sell.
True. I will say, personally, I don't care. I think it's great. That's why the spell exists.
No.
You know that most of the merchants, specifically in Warbury, would probably have the means to detect that that spell is correct. Because they're used to dealing with adventurers and people who can use magic, and many people are unscrupulous. Many adventurers are unscrupulous,
I have a suggestion, because we did not mention Adrian.
Oh, we did not. I will put a tweet for it.
Okay, I would also suggest maybe putting it on our slash screen. Maybe just his name, like YouTube / and then his name or something that he's divided by.
Yeah.
That way, in case we do forget to mention it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do. Yeah, I'll put up a tweet for it. I will put up a post about it and make sure that credit goes where it's due, and then, we'll add a note on like a page or something for it.
I don't know realistically what we're gonna do with the internet.
Yeah, I have no idea what to do with that.
We've done
Because-
everything we can do
yeah,
to sort
yeah.
of get the internet, so it's not at this point.
Yeah, Corey recommended switching to Discord because it's going to be a less kind of internet-intensive program than Meet.
And it is, but
It is, but it doesn't help.
No.
It seems to get worse. And like the only thing I can't really control is whether people are doing the extra time.
Yeah.
Like there's conversations in the background. There's nothing.
And the only other thing, I mean, it's... Yeah, I'm not sure what our options are.
I'll see something else if Corey has something else to suggest, but otherwise, I'm not. As he was predicting, it would be a little bit better because we had less people on.
Which also might have... I mean, in this case, it might have helped us to see an anomalous thing. Yeah, we'll figure out. Like, anyone know how far behind we are?
No,
I don't know what.
No, it is unwatchable. It flat out is. It flat out is unwatchable, unfortunately.
I've tried. He texted me that he loves me, but he can't.
No,
It's
that's, and that's totally reasonable. I don't blame him whatsoever. Like, that's a very good point. Like,
Genuinely fairly frustrating, and there's no way of growing on which we can see coming out.
I'll see what Corey suggests, but I don't know if you guys are pretty limited at where you are, too.
Now that we use that moving house at this point, which I mean, isn't the plan.
yeah, but it's not a feasible solution. I mean, Oof, we're like 2 hours behind.
Easy, yeah. And this will probably lose half an hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah, this is...
I don't understand. Why are we losing time?
It's up.
Yeah.
You're
I mean,
seeing
the-
our region, so it's fine.
The other option, quite frankly, is drop Twitch, record, and put things up on YouTube. And just do that way. If we're even interested in continuing this. But I don't want to provide this subpar. It's not really working because we can't get the internet to work together. That's just not fair to anybody.
I mean, once you do things live, you still see about doing like a YouTube live kind of thing.
Yeah, YouTube does do streaming, so we can try doing that.
At least in the interim. See how that actually works. Maybe it's whatever uploaded to Twitch is just not measuring.
Possibly. We could definitely look into doing that way. Limited options for doing it in the YouTube version instead of the Twitch one.
Just to see what happens, because I don't want you to scrap the idea of Twitch, because Twitch is a really good idea, but I don't know how feasible it is with the upload that you got right now as a 2-hour difference.
It's really like I'm turning off Wi-Fi on like all the bases that I have, and everything is asleep. Like I don't really know what else to do.
I can also say that periodically, every once in a while, your screen for me, your picture right there,
Just
was
green.
green.
Yeah, I've been seeing the same thing happen. I don't know why that is either.
Is that for everybody too, or are you noticing it just for yourself?
I'm noticing for myself.
Like you just did again. Yeah, that's upload to other devices too.
Is my screen flashing?
No.
I'm wondering if computer thing. Is that even possible?
Yeah.
Corey does work on computers a lot, and he helps build them. So if you want to give him your stacks, see what he thinks. If that's something you want to do.
Love him.
Long day.
Yeah, but
How's the
Don't worry,
ball?
you're sleeping.
I picked the perfect episode to be asleep for, apparently. Except I missed kind of simple stuff, so once I get it on YouTube, I gotta watch it.
yeah, it goes through clearly. Our stream tonight was apparently very behind. It's like 2 hours behind right now.
Oof, rough.
Yeah, so we're trying to figure out solutions for it. Yeah, I can see if I can Corey see if he has any ideas. Might try running off of a different computer if that works.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe it's your devices
Because
up.
I have like nothing. Like I have nothing running right now. I've got like one like Firefox page to make sure that I have like some of the things that you guys needed. But
OBS.
yeah, but OBS, yeah, but I mean I have to run that.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, I have nothing other than I got OBS. I've got one thing in Firefox and I've got Discord. That's it. That's basically the only like major programs that I'm running right now.
We'll figure it out.
There's
Yeah.
the Flash Brain.
So we'll say maybe it was,
I will say.
Flash Brain
I
is
did not, yeah, I did not notice the last ring.
yeah.
Maybe it's a bit of a load on your computer. Maybe, I don't know.
Who knows? We'll figure it out. I'll see what I can do to try anything on my end. If there's anything to do on this end.
Streaming, I had some seriously bad lag on all of mine, and it ended up being I had to update the CPU. So once I got a new one, then everything was fine.
Okay, I'll take that into consideration.
Alright.
Alright, well, you guys go.
Good night, everyone.
See you next time.
Bye.
I guess it's cool.
And you as well. Okay.
Convert.